Hello and welcome back to another video of mine. I decided to rewrite ghost stories, and this was a very impulsive thought. I've seen a couple of videos about ghost stories of people reacting to it. I've seen clips everywhere about ghost stories dub, and I love it, it's hilarious. But I've always wondered what the Japanese dub is like, and I'll be honest, it's very boring. I watched the first episode, and it was, what the fuck is this? Yeah. Ghost stories is very weird. I noticed that it just doesn't stand out. It's just some random ghost anime. It reminds me of like those random ghost shows that throw in everything, like, oh my god, the ghost there, and it's just so weird. I also noticed that it just does not know what it wants to be. It tries to be scary, but it also tries to be a comedy. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And so, when designing them, I took a lot of inspiration of just some random pictures of Japanese kids. For Hajime, I didn't want him to be some weird pervy kid. I wanted him to be likable. I wanted everyone to be likable, so I thought of like, some backstories that maybe people can relate to, some hardships. For Hajime, I just gave him a jacket and some shorts. For Satsuki, I gave her some outfit I found on some Japanese girls. They're middle schoolers? I guess they're middle schoolers, and they're like 11 or something. And so I wanted to keep the childish aspect. So just random clothes. Satsuki trying to imitate like older kids and trying to be so cool. Keiichiro is I just gave him a random outfit. I didn't really know how to make him distinct. He's just a little kid. For Momoko, I just gave her a very cute hairstyle, some cute simple clothes as well. Then Leo, I tried to make him a bit messy, and I don't know what that hairstyle is called or anything. I just thought, hey, that's interesting, that's distinct, so I gave him that. And the story part turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it would be. Satsuki. It was peaceful. Nice sunny days always calmed Satsuki. It made her as light as a hair. If she closed her eyes, she could even float. A crash came from another room. That is, if her annoying little brother didn't exist. She could hear her brother worrying over something through the walls. She has always hated how thin walls were. Satsuki placed a photo on the desk. Her mother passed away a few years ago. She always keeps her image near. Satsuki grabs her pendant and opens it. She didn't mind moving so much, because she will never feel at home anywhere. A little meow came from below. Satsuki looks down and smiles. Her little black cat rubbed against her legs. Kai has always sensed her worries. That's why she loved animals way more than humans. They will always love you, and will never harm your relatives. Momoko put the book down. She had been studying for hours now. Momoko lies down on the table. The library was the only place she was alone. Her mother never second-guessed her going there. Why would she? She was just studying, but she could also not study. Momoko gets up and grabs the books, but good results don't appear out of nowhere. Mother will be disappointed in her if she didn't study. She puts the books back in their place and walks around. She looks at all of the different books. Oh, if only she could read a storybook, an adventure to some secret land. Momoko puts her hands on her cheeks. Or a mystical ghostly story about an abandoned pirate ship that appears out of nowhere. Momoko shakes her head. This is how people get addicted. She mustn't think like that. Momoko looks up and notices a jungle adventure book. Maybe one book won't hurt, she says to herself. Momoko grabs the book and looks at it. How could she even find out about one storybook? Momoko goes back to sit at the table. She's going to enjoy every moment of the street. Hajime. The man fell to the ground. He grabbed his head in pain. Hajime peeks out from his hiding spot. He quickly hides away after seeing the large men. Hajime closes his eyes and blocks his ears. This wasn't the first time that his father had been beat up by debt collectors. So why was he so scared? He should just go out and beat them all up. Hajime brings his knees closer to himself. But he can't beat up 3 large men. Another hard hit comes towards his father. The men scream at him. Hajime sneaks away to his room and doesn't look back. It's okay, he whispers to himself. When he grows up, he'll become a cop and beat up all the bad guys. He puts his fist into the air. I have even been practicing my fighting, he quietly says while fighting there. A crash comes from the next room. Hajime jumps. He never likes when strange men come to the house. Oh, how he wished Mom took him with her. But she left in the middle of the night. Hajime scoffs. It's okay. I can protect Dad by staying here. He picks up his handmade toys and starts playing. Hajime's father doesn't make much money. He isn't even sure where he works. Says it's some security job. Hajime puts the cop toy next to the criminal. How hard can it be to beat a bad guy as an adult? Adults are much taller. Hajime hits the criminal in size. Hajime is the only child in the family, so he doesn't have a playmate. He lies down on his back. His only friend is a science freak. But he can't invite him to the house. He can't lose another friend. Leo carefully puts the pieces together. It has to be perfect. He had been planning his newest model for months. Every single little detail looked over many times. He's sure to impress his parents with this. Leo picks up the next piece and moves over to the model. The door slams open. A loud noise startled the boy so much that he fell and knocked his model down. The model crashed to the ground, shattering into many tiny pieces. Leo! His mother shouts, coming into his room. Leo looks at the ruined model in shock. His mother moves closer and holds a paper up. Look at your damn grades! How the hell did you even get a 12 in maths? His mother yelled at him. Leo has really only ever cared about science. Why should he care about other subjects? Science is the only thing that excites him. But his parents have never been happy about his grades. You will get nowhere in life with these grades. What are you planning on doing? Becoming a janitor? His mother warns. Leo quietly picks up the pieces. He has learned that words do not help. Mother will never listen to words, so he has to try hard with his hands. Ugh, when will you drop this useless science bullshit? His mother storms out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Leo droops his shoulders. He looks at his broken plan and model in tears. He shakes his head, wipes his eyes. Crying won't help gain his parents' approval. Leo goes back to picking up the pieces. He will just have to start all over again. Chapter 1. Satsuki. The boxes lined the wall. There's just too much to unpack. She kept some stuff in boxes. They moved so often that she gave up unpacking everything. Why take it out if it will need to be packed later anyway? She sits down next to Kai on the bed. She pets him gently. Kai purrs softly. Satsuki truly loves her cat. Weirdly enough, he reminds her of her mother. Kai is sassy just like her. Satsuki giggles. Mom would have loved you very much too if she had met you. Kai rubs his head against her hand in agreement. But I've already told you many times before, so you know. She smiles like Kai is stretching. He is the cutest cat in the world. Satsuki gets up and walks over to the window. It had gotten extremely hot after unpacking. He had not been kind to them. They really had to move in this heat. She sighs. Satsuki opens the window and breathes the fresh air in. So very relaxing. Outside of the window is a small forest. Birds are perched on many tree branches. A small thud comes from behind her. Satsuki looks at the ground. Something had fallen off of the small bookcase. Ah, great. Just what she needed. An unstable bookcase. Satsuki walks over and picks it up. Note to self. Don't put anything that can break on it. She steps back and crosses her arms. Something is always broken. Satsuki turns around to look at the window. There were no longer birds on the branches. Huh? Why'd they leave so fast? She ponders. Satsuki turns to the bed. It's empty. Kaya? Satsuki says, startled. Just a moment ago he was on the bed. Where did he go? Satsuki searches her room. Not under the bed, not in the closet, not anywhere. She turns to the window. Satsuki runs out of her room. No, no, no! She shouts. Kaya is not an outdoor cat. He can't be with all of them moving. And not to mention how dangerous the outside world is. She puts her shoes on. Her father calls from the living room. Going somewhere? Satsuki freezes. What does she do? Does she tell him? He'll just waste her time before she can find Kaya. Just going out for a walk. Satsuki gets up. Her father peers out of the living room. Okay, just take your brother with you. I'm sure he'd love to sightsee too. He goes back to whatever he was doing. Satsuki looks annoyed at her father leaving. Just what she needed. The brat's slowing her down. Satsuki, without taking her shoes off, runs to his room. Quick, shoes on, we gotta go. She shouts. Keiichiro looks up. Huh? He says. But before he could say anything else, Satsuki drags him out of the room. We have to go now, she says loudly, but she turns the rest into a whisper. Kaya jumped out of the window. We have to find him now. Keiichiro gasps. Kaya is gone? He shouts. Satsuki covers his mouth. Quiet. If Dad finds out, I'll get a lecture, and Kaya will be long gone when he's done. Satsuki warns. Keiichiro nods and follows her. The heat attacks them as they leave. Satsuki walks over to the window. He must be around here somewhere, she says, looking around. There are bushes everywhere, but a black cat should stand out between all the green. They both search around to no avail. He must have gone further away. Satsuki wanders further into the brush. Keiichiro gulps. Do we really have to go in there? He whispers. Satsuki turns to him. Do you want to find him or not? She says, annoyed. She's more scared than annoyed. Like hell she's gonna show weakness to him. They walk and walk, till they spot a familiar shape. Kaya. He's rolling around in the grass. Great, she'll just sneak up on him and... Kaya! Keiichiro shouts. He runs towards the cat. Kaya turns and runs away. Keiichiro! Satsuki shouts. He ruined it. He always ruins everything. She runs after the two. They run through the shrubs and onto a road. Satsuki stops to catch her breath. How can he run so fast for so long? She continues to run till she catches up to him. The young boy is looking around in some bushes. Satsuki helps in the search. Keiichiro gasps and grabs something. You found him? Satsuki shouts. Keiichiro smiles, puts up what he's holding. No, but I found a cool bug. Satsuki screams and falls over. Get that thing away from me! She yells. Oh my, are you alright? A voice comes from behind her. Satsuki turns around. There, a girl around her age is standing on the old path. She holds out a hand to help Satsuki up. Satsuki takes it. The girl repeats her question again. Satsuki looks at her sadly. Well, our cat kinda got out and we are trying to find him. She nervously rubs her head. The other girl gasps. Oh no, and he's around here? She asks, looking around. Satsuki nods. The other girl looks at her and ponders. I can help to search a bit, she says, quietly. Satsuki smiles at her. Thank you so much. They turn around, just in time to see Kaya dart from some shrubs. Ah, he's there! He runs after the cat. The girls follow. The path gets more decayed as they run further. They come to a small clearing. Satsuki gasps. The clearing contains an old school. A very run-down and decayed school. The door is open just enough for Kaya to slip through. They stop. Satsuki walks over to Keiichiro. Oh, what are you waiting for? Go in, she says, calmly. Keiichiro looks up at her, shocked. Why me? Satsuki looks at the building. Well, you did scare Kaya off, so you should be the one to go in. Keiichiro nervously looks at the building and gulps. He has never been the brave type. The other girl stares at the two. The boy slowly walks to the building. Satsuki crosses her arms and smiles. Hey, it's too dangerous to go alone. I'll come with. She walks over to him. Keiichiro smiles at her, thankful he won't have to go alone. Satsuki uncrosses her arms. She looks at them. She turns around and shakes her head. No, she's not guilty. She has the right to do so. Satsuki glances at the two. Wait for me! She runs to catch up to them. The opening was too small for them to all get through. The other girl looks around. Maybe we can use something to open the door. Keiichiro runs around the building. Satsuki stands next to her. She has no idea what they could use. Keiichiro calls him from somewhere. The girls look at each other and run to find him. Look! The window is open! Keiichiro looks proudly at them. Good job, kiddo, the other girl says. Keiichiro beams. Satsuki jumps in, following with Keiichiro, who got help from the other girl. Finally, they all step into the old school. It was a lot darker and creepier than from the outside. It was eerie. Many small noises came from all around. Satsuki turns her phone's flashlight on and gulps. The hallway seems never ending. They all seem hesitant to leave the small group. The other girl sighs and steps forward. The floorboards creak under her feet. She grabs her phone, then she looks at the screen for a second, and then turns the flashlight on. She'll respond to the message later. They all slowly walk around. They walk till they find some stairs. There are hallways all around the stairs. The trio are unsure on where to start. Satsuki glances up at the stairs and sees a shadow. She gasps and steps back. What's wrong? The other girl asks. Satsuki can't even utter a word. She's too shocked to speak. They all look up at the stairs. Then some footsteps can be heard. Keiichiro hides behind Satsuki. She doesn't try to push him away. Is that a ghost? Keiichiro whispers. Do you think it's the house settling? The other girl whispers to Satsuki. Satsuki shakes her head. I saw a shadow, she mutters. Keiichiro hides into her jacket. I don't like this, he says, almost sobbing. Then a meow comes from upstairs. Satsuki looks horrified. Kaya's up there with whatever that was. Satsuki and the girl look at each other and then back at the stairs. Satsuki gulps and slowly starts to move. Keiichiro doesn't let go. Each stair creaks with their movement. Satsuki never takes her eyes off the top of the stairs. She has to get Kaya out of there. She can't let him get hurt. They walk and walk till they get to this last step. Satsuki stops and peers at the hallway. It seems empty. The house now seems eerily silent. It doesn't seem to be selling anymore. They step into the hallway, and Satsuki walks the opposite direction. She isn't going in the same direction as whatever that thing was. They creep into a classroom. It's extremely decayed. Is it even safe to walk on this floor? The other girl whispers. Satsuki had no idea, but she walked in anyway. They looked around for Kaya. Most of the tables had been toppled over, except for one. It stood by an open window. Satsuki wondered how that happened. Maybe some kids had snuck in like them, but with different intentions. Satsuki walks over to the table and looks at it. It's been scribbled on with Sharpie. She looks closely to read the writing. A loud bang sounds. Satsuki quickly looks up. A picture on the wall had fallen off and smashed into pieces. Satsuki looks mortified. The other girl looks at the door in worry. They all silently stare. No one dares to utter a word. It sounds like footsteps come from the hallway. They all look at each other and quietly run to the teacher's desk. They dart under it and hide. The footsteps continue till they stop at the door. Keiichiro clings to the other girl. They all cover their mouths. They know one thing for sure. That isn't Kaya. The girls look at each other. They had already quickly turned the flashes off, so it was dark. Light seemed to hate this place. The footsteps stopped somewhere. They were at a loss on what to do. What could they even do? If it was some adult, they could be powerless against them. If it was a ghost, then they would be even more powerless. Satsuki looks at the fallen picture frame. It was close enough to grab. She ponders for a moment. We could use the picture to distract whatever is there, she whispers, as quietly as possible. The other girl only nods. Keiichiro doesn't even look up. Satsuki moves closely. She doesn't dare look behind her. She reaches her hand out. She stops and freezes. She closes her eyes and shakes her fear away. She opens her eyes and reaches for the frame again. The glass scrapes the ground. Satsuki cringes. Please, please don't hear, she thinks. Satsuki picks up the picture frame. Silence fills the room. Satsuki moves back to her spot. I have no idea where it is, but she could throw it far away from the door. She just hopes it's not close to the desk. Satsuki gulps and moves again. She gets near the end of the desk and glances back to the other two. The other girl nods. Satsuki inhales and looks up. It's too dark to see anything. She gets ready to throw the picture and throws as hard as she can. It makes a loud crash. Satsuki sneaks to the other side of the desk. They slowly creep out from under the desk. Satsuki doesn't look behind her. She's just focused on the door. They walk as slowly as possible. They could hear sounds coming from the thing, but they don't falter. Satsuki hopes that the thing can't see in the dark. She reaches out and feels for the wall. She touches the door frame. Satsuki stops. Dread. All she can feel is dread. Satsuki looks over. The window is illuminating something dark. But Satsuki doesn't feel scared anymore. She's strangely calm. Why? The other girl grabs her hand and it snaps Satsuki out of her trance. She drags both Satsuki and Keiichiro out. They run down the hallway. The creaks get faster and follow them. They turn a corner and bolt into a room. The other girl closes the door as fast as she can. They stop and sit down, out of view from the window on the door. The creaking follows, but slows. It continues on, past the door. It didn't find them. She sighs and clutches her legs. Satsuki sits down next to her. Satsuki stares at her arms. So what's your name? She asks without looking at her, only now realizing they never introduced themselves. Momoko. And you? Satsuki. She clutches her legs just like Momoko. And that twerp is Keiichiro, she whispers, motioning to the young boy. Keiichiro doesn't look up and just stares at the ground. Momoko nods. A small meow comes from further inside the glass room. They all look up. Keiichiro perks up. Satsuki quickly covers his mouth. Don't you dare! Satsuki loudly whispers. Keiichiro nods. She removes her hand and looks at Kaya. He looks fine, just a little hungry. Satsuki smiles. Kaya has always been a foodie. Kaya comes towards them. Keiichiro hugs him. I'm so glad you're fine, he says. Satsuki hushes him. Keiichiro exclaims sorry before putting his head into Kaya's fur. Satsuki sighs. How are we going to get out of here? Says Momoko. Satsuki looks at her. She ponders. The thing is past us, so maybe we can just quietly walk down. Momoko nods. It didn't seem like they had any other options. It's not like they could just jump out of the second-story window. Satsuki gets up. She looks out of the window. It was pitch black. They heard creaking for a while, so it's most likely far away from them. Satsuki slowly opens the door. It creaks. They stop and listen, but no other sound can be heard. Satsuki grabs Kaya from Keiichiro. She isn't risking him dropping the cat. Dread. So much dread. The same feeling. Satsuki just ran without a word. The other two followed her. If there was other creaking behind them, she didn't hear it. Their footsteps are too loud. A loud crash came from behind them. They didn't check what fell. They got to the stairs. Satsuki stops. A chair flies at them. Satsuki screams out and ducks. The chair hits the wall. Momoko grabs Satsuki's hand and they run. Keiichiro follows closely. Satsuki clutches Kaya hard to her chest. More crashes come from behind them. They run down the same hallway. They run to the window. Momoko is the first to climb out. The eerie silence comes back. Satsuki just stares at the hallway. After Keiichiro jumps out, Satsuki hands Kaya to Momoko. Satsuki takes one last glance at the hallway and jumps out. They move a safe distance before catching their breaths. They silently stare at each other. Momoko is the first to break the silence. That was horrifying, she says, shaking her head. Keiichiro cries. The monster almost ate us! Momoko hands Kaya back to Satsuki. She hugs Kaya. She can't think clearly. Momoko gasps and grabs her phone. She looks at it in fear. What's wrong? Satsuki asks, still hugging Kaya. Momoko shakes her head. No, I'm okay. Momoko looks at the ground. But I do have to go now. Satsuki nods. Momoko goes to leave. Oh, wait, I never got your phone number. Momoko looks at her, startled. Why would she want her phone number? Momoko nods and walks over to her. She has no time for pondering. Satsuki hands her phone to Momoko. Momoko types her number in. After giving her the phone back, she takes a step back. Well, I guess it's goodbye then. Momoko shyly waves before leaving. Keiichiro waves too. Bye! Satsuki shouts. They watch Momoko leave. Satsuki looks down at Kaya and smiles. Time to go home. The two walk along the same path. Satsuki stops. Keiichiro runs into her. What? He blurts out, looking up at her. Which way did we come from? Chapter 2. Hajime. He has never liked getting ready for school. He has to do everything himself now. Hajime kicks his bedsheets off of himself and stretches. Mom always helped him get up, waking him softly each morning with a kiss and soft touch. Hajime gets up and rushes to the bathroom. These thoughts are bad news. Mom will never come back, and he knows it. Hajime takes his toothbrush and toothpaste. He must keep up with good hygiene. Then he won't be the same as their house. Hajime looks up at the leaking ceiling. He sticks the toothbrush in his mouth. Dad has been promising to fix that for a month now. He knows it's a total lie. Dad always keeps empty promises. Like when he said he was never going to horse races again. Clearly, the evidence left in the trash says otherwise. Hajime smiles. He'd be a good detective with all of the practice he's getting. He steps out into the heat. A small breeze brushes his hair into his face. Hajime blows the hair away. He and Wind don't get along well. Wind always finds a way to make him look like crap. He walks down the sidewalk. Hajime always meets with his friend before school. It's a tradition now. That way he can look more like he belongs and isn't some loner. Hajime hangs his head down. Who is he kidding? People will always judge him no matter how hard he tries to fit in. He will always be the hooligan, the one that teachers don't like. Someone calls out to him. Hajime looks up. Leo waves to him. Hajime smiles. Leo may be a total otaku for science, but he loves hanging out with him. He's never said anything bad about his dreams. The two boys fist bump. Any luck with the models? Hajime says while walking next to Leo. Leo sighs. Not really. The model fell off the table. Hajime pats him on the shoulder. Don't worry. I'm sure it will work out someday. Leo smiles sadly. How's the training coming along? Leo asks. Hajime thinks back to one of his training sessions. He picks up his stick sword and bats the air. He hits the table. The stick breaks in half and hits him in the face. Hajime grabs his face in pain. Good, he says, giving a thumbs up. Satsuki. She stops in front of the big school. She always hated changing schools so much. It was always such a hassle. You can't memorize where everything is located in such a short time. So why bother? Just get done with school. Hello there. I'm Saito Keiko, and I'm your homeroom teacher. She tries to make a good impression, but she's just another blob in the mass of soon-to-be-forgotten faces. Satsuki greets her nicely. She has learned to greet teachers kindly. Even short times in school can drag on and feel like hell if you get on the bad sides of teachers. They are the ones that educate you, so she should respect them, even if she doesn't care. Satsuki follows the homeroom teacher, already forgetting her name. No point in memorizing it, she'll just call her teacher. Miss Keiko calls out to the class to sit down. Satsuki just quietly follows her. The teacher stands in front of the classroom. All the students eye Satsuki. She stands unwavering. You have a new classmate. Would you like to introduce yourself? Miss Keiko glances at Satsuki. Satsuki breathes in and gets ready for her rehearsed speech. Miyonoshita Satsuki, she exclaims. Satsuki bows and goes to find a seat. The teacher calls after her. Aren't you going to say anything else? Satsuki stops and stares. She shakes her head. No, I have nothing more to say. Another rehearsed line. The teacher watches her leave with a dumbfounded expression. There's no point to long introductions. The kids will forget her in a couple of months anyway. She sits in an empty seat. All eyes are on her. The two boys stare at each other. What a weirdo, whispers Hajime. Leo nods before going back to his notes. Hajime smiles. His friend can never stop working. Hajime goes back to his mindless scribbling. Suzuki and Keiichiro take their shoes off. Why does she always have to take the brat home? Can't Dad do it? He isn't always at work. As if hearing his name, their father comes into the hallway. Hey, how's school, kiddos? He asks, ruffling Keiichiro's hair. Fun! Exclaims Keiichiro. Good, Suzuki says, emotionlessly. Her father looks at her. Did something happen? He asks. Suzuki shakes her head and walks away. Her father sighs. Suzuki lays in her bed, staring at the ceiling. What even was that back in the old school? She was full of fear, but when the thing got closer, she felt warm. She wants to go back and see if it really did happen. But that's crazy. She shouldn't. But somehow she feels like the thing didn't want to harm her. Suzuki closed her eyes. Ugh, she exclaims and grabs her phone. She searches her contacts till she gets to the most recently added one. Momoko. She types out her text. Suzuki shakes her head and deletes it. She drops her phone on the bed and covers her face with her hands. She will never agree. She lays on her side and hugs her pillow. Kaya's been sitting on the ground this whole time. Why isn't he cuddling up with her like always? Suzuki sits up. Kaya! She calls him. Kaya just stares at her. He doesn't move. Suzuki frowns. What's up with him? He's never this sassy. She steps off her bed and walks to the cat. But before she can get near him, he darts under the bed. Kaya! She shouts. Suzuki decides to drop it for the day. Hopefully Kaya's alright. She then gets an idea. Suzuki grabs her phone and smiles. She won't see her for long, so it should be fine. Hajime bashes the nail as hard as he can. Why is hammering nails so hard? He sighs and sits down on the ground. The wall had been damaged by the badman. Again. His father yet again promised to fix something. Of course that's a lie. Why does he even try? Hajime looks at the wall with the plastic box cover. That was all Hajime could find. Hajime wipes the sweat off of his face. Well, it was that or cardboard. But cardboard wasn't gonna last. He looks up at the ceiling. Not with all of the leaks everywhere. Hajime gets up and proudly looks at his handiwork. Dad is sure to be proud. A click comes from the door. Hajime's father is home. He smiles and runs to the door. His dad steps in, and Hajime runs right up to him. Dad, look at... Not now, boy. His father walks right past him, not even saying hi. Hajime hits the wall with his fist. He did all of that work, and for what? Just to be ignored? Hajime, get over here right now! Came a scream from the living room. Hajime gulps. He hasn't seen his father this mad since the day after his mother left. He slowly creeps into the room. What did you do? He shouts. Hajime looks at his father meekly. Nothing. I just fixed. But before he could finish, his father grabbed his arm hard. Why the hell did you nail plastic to my damn wall? He shouts in his face. Hajime tears up. I fixed the hole, he whispers. His father glares at him. I told you I was fixing that tomorrow. Hajime looks at the ground. But you never do. He doesn't dare look at his father. He already knows he messed up without seeing him. His father pulls him away and walks over to Hajime's room. He throws him in the room and slams the door. Hajime winces. Now stay there till you think over what the hell you did. His father shouts through the door. He can hear his father mumbling insults as he leaves. Hajime curls up on the ground. He just wanted to fix it. Why did his father get so mad? He quietly sobs. Hajime gets up and sits on his knees. No, he has to be strong. Hajime wipes his eyes. His father must have just misunderstood. Maybe he will just have to explain it better. Hajime looks at the door. Maybe, just not now. He doesn't want to deal with that anger. Hajime looks at the window. Maybe he can hang out with Leo for the time being. He doubts his father will check up on him. Why would he? He is old enough to take care of himself. Hajime walks over to the window and opens it. Luckily his room is on the first floor. He pushes the wardrobe to the window. Hajime gets up on the wardrobe and opens the window. He glances out and sighs. He looks at his arms. It might sting more than usual with his new injuries. He shakes his head and pushes the fear aside. He's 11 now, so he has to be brave. He isn't little anymore. Hajime jumps out and lands on his feet before falling down and catching himself with his hands. Hajime jumps up and down. Ow, ow, ow! He whines. He steps and looks at his hands. That stung a lot. Hajime looks around before running off. His phone was in the living room, so he'll have to knock on Leo's window. Leo. He throws the paper in the trash. Whatever. He doesn't care what they think. Leo plops in his chair and lies down on the table. He isn't going to a boarding school. How could he even think he'd want to go? Leo looks up at his model. He started rebuilding it again. Leo gets up and knocks it in the trash can. I don't care, he whispers. If they will never accept my passion, then why should I even bother anymore? Leo sits back down on his chair. Life is pointless without science. A knock comes from his window. Leo looks up confused. He walks over and looks out. Hajime waves at him. Leo opens the window. What are you doing here? He asks. Just came to get you so we could go on our walk, he answers enthusiastically. Leo gives him a confused look. I felt like a walk. Hajime shrugs. Leo looks at Hajime's hands and frowns. What happened to your hands? He asks, concerned. Hajime waves. Just a small stumble. Tripped a little bit, you see. He laughs it off. Leo frowns even more. He doesn't believe that for a moment. Leo looks at his door, and then back to Hajime. He sighs. Help me get out. Hajime beams and gives him a hand. Momoko. Satsuki watches as the girl runs to them. I got here as fast as I could, she says, trying to catch her breath. Satsuki frowns and crosses her arms. Thank you for coming, she says, concerned. Momoko shakes her head. No, it's okay. I'm happy to help. Satsuki leads the way and Momoko follows. Keiichiro frowns, and Satsuki sends him a glare. Momoko stays a foot behind the siblings and sighs. She'll be hearing another lecture, but this is more important than studies. She hopes her mother will still let her visit the library. Hajime gasps as he stares out of the bushes. Are you seeing this, Leo? He whispers to his friend. Leo looks at Hajime. Yeah, so? Hajime grabs his chest in fake shock. So? He points over the bushes. They're clearly breaking the law, he whispers. Leo looks at the three kids climbing into the abandoned building. He does not care in the slightest. Hajime gets up when they are no longer in sight. We have to bust them, he says, putting his fist in the air. Leo face bombs. And what are we gonna do? Bring them to the cops? Hajime nods. Of course, justice always prevails. They will laugh us out of the police station. Hajime grabs his arm and drags him to the building. Come on, we'll lose them in that big place, he shouts. Leo disgustingly looks at Hajime. Why did he agree to follow this idiot? Satsuki wraps her arms around herself. She looks up. She feels like an icicle in this place. A sudden drop in temperature is eerie. Satsuki looks at her little brother. He doesn't look cold in the slightest. Momoko walks up to the two. So, do you think he's in the same place? She says, turning on her phone's flashlight. Satsuki looks at Momoko in sadness. She nods, not really able to answer. Momoko looks away and looks at the dark hallway. She gulps and starts to move forward. Satsuki watches her and looks down. Why does she feel so guilty? It's just a little white lie. Keiichiro grabs onto Satsuki's jacket. Satsuki sends a glare his way and rips his hand off. She follows Momoko. Keiichiro looks at the two in worry and runs after them. They slowly creep along the hallway till they get to the staircase. Momoko shines her flashlight up it. Doesn't seem like it's waiting for us, mutters Momoko. Why did she have to do this? She could have just told Momoko the truth from the start, but she had to lie straight through her face. Satsuki is interrupted by creaking coming from the stairs. She quickly looks at the stairs, but it's just Momoko walking up them. Satsuki swallows the spit that has been building in her mouth and follows Momoko. She won't be of help if she gets so preoccupied so often. The stairs creak after every step. Satsuki grabs onto the railing. She gasps. The wood cracks under the weight. She grabs onto another piece before falling down. The piece of railing crashes down into the dark abyss. Silence. Satsuki tries to catch her breath. Momoko quietly helps Satsuki up and they continue walking. They say no more words, but all of them become more paranoid now. That clearly was heard throughout the whole school. Satsuki feels cold sweat building up on her forehead. Whatever that thing was before, it probably already knows that they are here. Momoko is the first to reach the top. She nervously lights up the hallway. Nothing. Nothing at all. Satsuki wonders if it was gone. Was it actually dread that she was feeling, or guilt? Did she come back for nothing? Satsuki hated the thought of it. But there's probably only one way to find out. She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. Gaia! She shouts at the top of her lungs. Momoko and Keiichiro look horrified at her. Satsuki looks down at the hallway. What are you doing? Momoko loudly whispers. You will call the monster here! Keiichiro puts his hands over his eyes. I'm not sure if anything is here anymore. Satsuki answers her. Momoko follows Satsuki's gaze and frowns. I guess it is strange that we haven't heard anything from it. Satsuki walks down the same hallway. She doesn't know why, but she feels like she has to go back to her first classroom. There was just something about the classroom that bothered her. Satsuki glances at Momoko. But she'll have to lose Momoko for a moment. Satsuki stops. Hey, she starts. Momoko and Keiichiro stop as well. Since the thing is gone, let's split up the search. We'll cover more ground that way. Momoko and Keiichiro look at each other. Satsuki smiles at Keiichiro. I'm sure Kaya will come to any one of us, so it's best for you to go with Momoko. The boy looks down at his hands and frowns. Momoko nervously looks at Satsuki and nods. Alright, but how would we split up in this place? We don't know how many rooms are here. She glances down the hallway. Satsuki nods. I know, it might seem crazy, but we can take it in chunks. She crosses her arms. I'll take the classrooms all along this hallway, and you can take the next ones. Then we will meet up and share news. Momoko ponders for a moment, but then agrees to go along with it. She'll spend less time here, that way. Maybe she'll even go unnoticed by her mother. Satsuki walks into the classroom. She glances at the fallen picture frame. So land it over there. She walks over to it and picks it up. She never did get to see what was on it. Satsuki sighs. It was just a normal class picture. It looked very old. Satsuki face palms. Of course it's old. The date is written right there. It was taken over 30 years ago. She glances at the lonely table. Why did she feel so many different emotions in this place? And why the hell did she want to come back for one simple warm feeling? It could have just been pure fear. She's never been in so much terror before. She walks over and looks at the writing. It's very old. It's still somewhat readable. Cabbage. Satsuki steps back. Cabbage is written all over the desk. What is this supposed to be? This is just nonsense. The door slams open. Satsuki jumps, startled by the noise. Hands in the air! A voice screams. Police! Satsuki glares at the two boys. What the hell is this supposed to be? She says. Were they behind all of this all along? She was afraid over nothing. You can't be here. That is trespassing, you know. The more confident one of the two says, crossing his arms. The other one stays quiet. Then the boy gasps. Wait, you're that weird new girl. He points an accusatory finger at her. Satsuki crosses her arms. Did your parents never teach you that pointing at people is rude? What? But you're breaking the law, he says, getting more agitated. Oh, and what are you going to do about it? Arrest you! The other boy face palms. Satsuki scoffs. You're not a cop, and you do realize you're trespassing as well, right? The boy steps back. He's lost for words. The other boy walks closer to her. Don't mind Hajime. He's always been an idiot. Hajime gasps at his friend's betrayal. Leo! He shouts. Leo glances at the room. What is up with this classroom anyway? Satsuki looks at him and scoffs. Don't act stupid. You two clearly did all of that on purpose. Leo looks baffled at her. What are you talking about? Hajime walks up to the two. She's clearly insane. Another reason to arrest her. Satsuki glares at him. I think it's very suspicious that we got chased by a ghost the last time we were here. But when you two show up, nothing happens anymore. And not to mention only stupid boys would write that on a desk. Both the boys look at her confused. Alright, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hajime is more confused and angry now. This is the first time we're here, Leo adds. And not to mention, Leo scoffs, ghosts aren't real. Hajime grabs him. They are 100% real. Do you want to get haunted? Leo pushes him away. What writing anyway? He asks. Suzuki points at the only standing desk. The boys walk over. Hajime bursts out laughing. Leo glares at him. How's that funny? It just says cabbage. That's why it's funny. He stops laughing and looks back at the table. Must be some playground insult. Suzuki looks confused at him. Playground insult? Hajime looks at her shocked. Didn't nobody get their desk vandalized in your old school? Suzuki shakes her head. She's never heard of such a thing. Well, it's not like she paid attention to anything happening around her socially. Hajime giggles and puts his arm around Leo. What's up, cabbage? Leo doesn't entertain his shenanigans. Oh, come on, at least play along. You're no fun. Cabbage. Hajime bursts out laughing. Leo rolls his eyes. He regrets coming along even more now. Suzuki shakes. She looks at the window. It's gotten colder in the classroom now. A breeze must have come in. She covers herself with her arms and breathes out. It's very cold. How could it have gotten so cold? She jumps when someone grabs her arm. It's Hajime. He isn't looking at her. Leo also takes a step back. Dread. All dread. She slowly looks forward. It wasn't gone. It's still here. It was right in the door frame, blocking their exit. Leo covers his eyes. If I don't see it, it doesn't exist, he exclaims. He walks forward. Suzuki just stared. Hajime cowers behind Suzuki. She can't move. Fear or courage, she doesn't know. She just can't move. Suzuki glances at the table and then back at the thing. Was that your table? She timidly says. The boys don't say anything. It's getting closer. Suzuki gulps and reaches her hand out. Maybe, just maybe the thing isn't malicious. My name is Suzuki. Nice to meet you. She stutters. It's black. So very black. Suzuki can't look away. It reaches out and... darkness. Suzuki shuts her eyes. She can feel something on her hand, but she doesn't dare open her eyes. She just had to act stupid. I'm so sorry, Mom. This is all my fault. She thinks. Laughter. Laughter? She can hear laughter coming from somewhere. She opens her eyes to a normal classroom. Suzuki is shocked. What just happened? Where is she? Wasn't she just in an old school? Suzuki gasps. Is she dead? She realized the feeling from her hand never left. She nervously turned her head. A girl around her age is standing, watching something. Suzuki turns to see what she's watching. There, a girl sat at a table, crying. Some girls stood around her laughing. Suzuki's eyes widened. She quickly looked all around the room. This is the same classroom we were just all in, she says while noticing the same picture hanging on the wall. But this time, brand new. She hadn't recognized it due to how different everything looked. But this makes no sense. How is she seeing all of this? Suzuki glances back at the girl. Are you doing this? She asks, dreading the answer. The young girl looks at her sadly and nods. Suzuki gulps. She's holding the hand of the monster. She must have been brought here after the monster touched her. But why? The room blurred. Suzuki covers her eyes. She opened her eyes to a different scene. Now the young girl was standing in front of the classroom. The whole scene reminded her of her first day in the new school. And I really love snow, the young girl exclaimed. Some kids snickered. Wow, the wrong season for a cabbage. Laughter ensued. The teacher shushed the kids. Everything blurred again. This time, there were only a couple of kids in the classroom. Everyone's standing around the young girl. Satsuki glances at the ghost still holding her hand. She wasn't reacting to anything at all. Can ghosts even feel emotions? Satsuki didn't know anything about them. Her father had just told her that they kept near their loved ones or their favorite places. Satsuki looked down. Her father just told her that to make her feel better. She doubts it's true. How much do you really love snow? Someone said. Satsuki looked up and watched the scene again. The young girl in the middle proudly opened her arms up wide. This much, she exclaimed. The other girl snickered. Do you love snow enough to jump out of the window? Satsuki opened her eyes wide in shock. No, it can't be. The young girl looked shocked at the others. But that's dangerous, she exclaims. Oh, don't be a scaredy cat, one girl says. Didn't you know that snow is like a cushion? Another one says. Wow, you love snow and didn't even know? The third one says. The young girl looks at the window by her desk. This can't be how she died. Satsuki can't take her eyes off the scene. The young girl looks back at the others and glares at them. Of course I knew that. I love snow. She turns towards the window. No. She opens the window and looks out of it. No, please. But the young girl takes a step back in fear. Satsuki sighs and is about to turn to the ghost, but she stops and screams. One of the other girls pushed her. Satsuki closed her eyes. She heard the thud and fell to the ground. God, what did she just watch? She opened her eyes to a different scene. She was back. Back to where she was before the flashback. The ghost was the same black mass as before. A scream comes from the door. The other two had found them. Satsuki wondered why they hadn't come earlier. They should have heard the brats. Or was everything weird here, including time? But why was the ghost so different now? She was a little girl a moment ago. Or was that all a figment of her imagination, of her fear-induced mind? Keiichiro clutches Momoko's arm. Momoko just looks at Satsuko. She doesn't know what to do. The thing turned to face Momoko and Keiichiro. They both are frozen in fear. Satsuki glances at the two boys. Both of them are frozen too. She has to do something. The thing took a step towards Keiichiro and Momoko. Satsuki looks around and notices the table again. All the flashbacks took place right next to the table, and the thing arrived after the brat joked about the writing. Is there something significant about the desk or the picture? Is this desk the cause of her being trapped here? That seemed very far-fetched. Satsuki glanced at the monster again. But they are out of options. We have to get rid of the table, she exclaims. Nobody reacts to her. She shakes Hajime and Leo. Come on, we have to do something. They both ignore her. Satsuki looks at Hajime and takes a deep breath. She hits him over the head hard. Ow! He exclaims. What was that for? What happened to the bravery before? Screaming about arresting me? She asks. Hajime doesn't say anything. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's kind of a black monster about to devour them. She glares at him. That seemed to knock some sense into him. Grab the table. I have to throw it out of the window. Hajime looks at the table and runs to grab it. Probably too scared to disagree, Satsuki notes. They lift the table and move it towards the window. Hajime winces, but doesn't let go. They get the table onto the window, but they can't lift it out. It's just too heavy. These damn old tables. Satsuki glances at Leo. Come on, help us! She screams. It won't be long till it reaches the two. She screams at them to run, but they don't move. Hajime looks at his friend. I know you can hear me, Leo, he shouts. Leo doesn't budge. I know maybe this doesn't seem very sciencey, but you'll never prove or disprove anything by hiding away in the shadows. His hands are hurting badly. He closed his eyes. Leo peeks through his hands and looks at his friend. He remembers how injured his hands looked. Leo sighs and runs over towards them. Hajime smiles at Leo, but Leo ignores him. They push and push. The table falls, and the three fall to the ground. They look horrified back at the others. The monster was still there. Was she wrong? Crash. All of them jumped. Satsuki looks at the window and then back towards her brother and Momoko. She gets up. Momoko and Keiichiro look up. It was gone. She was gone. It worked. Satsuki falls back down and laughs. That actually worked. Keiichiro runs and hugs her. She doesn't push him away. Hajime gets up and throws a fist into the air. I did it! He exclaims. Leo glares at him. You did it? Hajime nervously laughs. I mean, we did it. He looks away. We didn't find Kaya over there, Momoko says to Satsuki. Satsuki looks up at her. Momoko looks sad. Satsuki sighs and smiles up at her. He must have walked back to her house. I wouldn't be surprised if he had more secret outings. Momoko smiles. Satsuki gets up and pushes her brother away. He whines. She glances at the window. She'll probably never forget what she saw this day. That took... Oh my god. That took so long to make. Oh my god. I just kept writing and writing, and I had more ideas and more ideas. And I'm like, oh my god. I did not expect it to turn out that long. I was really convinced it was going to be short. But I didn't want to leave it short. I wanted to have at least this much done. Yeah, this was a struggle because I don't know a lot about Japan. I only have information from Japanese YouTubers and anime, and that's it. I know nothing. This is why all of my original stories take place in my country. I hope you enjoyed this little rewrite of mine, and goodbye.